Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our daily reading here. We are completing the 30-day challenge of reading the Catholic Bible in 30 days. It is no small feat. We have completed, the previous day we completed the book of Numbers, and we started Deuteronomy and got all the way up to Deuteronomy chapter 11, completed chapter 11. So today we're going to start from Deuteronomy chapter 12. We're going to finish the entire book of Deuteronomy, which means we will have finished the entire Torah, the entire 5 books of Moses. And we are also going to begin on the book of Joshua and read until chapter 12 of Joshua. That'll be a huge chunk again. And then we can say we have completed sort of the first part of the story of Israel, with Israel being taken out of Egypt, wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, and then eventually claiming the promised land through the leader Joshua. And so, here we are, Deuteronomy chapter 12. Let's begin. These are the precepts and judgments that you must do in the land, which the Lord, the God of thy fathers, will give thee, to possess it all the days that thou shalt walk upon the earth. Destroy all the places in which the nations that shall pass possess, worshipped their gods upon high mountains and hills, and under every shady tree. Overthrow their altars, and break down their statues. Burn their groves with fire, and break their idols in pieces. Destroy their names out of those places. You shall not do so to the Lord your God, but you shall come to the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all your tribes, to put his name there, and to dwell in it. And you shall offer in that place your holocausts and victims, the tithes and first fruits of your hands, and your vows and gifts, the firstborn of your herds and your sheep. And you shall eat there in the sight of the Lord your God, and you shall rejoice in all things. Whereunto you shall put your hand, you and your houses wherein the Lord your God hath blessed you. You shall not do there the things we do here this day, every man that which seemeth good to himself. For until this present time you are not come to refit unto the possession which the Lord your God will give you. You shall pass over the Jordan, and shall dwell in the land which the Lord your God will give you, that you may have rest from all enemies around about, and may dwell without any fear, in the place which the Lord your God shall choose, that his name may be therein. Thither shall you bring all the things that I command you, holocausts and victims, and tithes, and the firstfruits of your hands, and whatsoever is the choicest in the gifts which you shall vow to the Lord. There shall you feast before the Lord your God, you and your sons and your daughters, your manservants and maidservants, and the Levite that dwelleth in your cities, for he hath no other part and possession among you. Beware lest thou offer any holocaust in every place that thou shalt see. But in the place which the Lord shall choose in one of thy tribes shalt thou offer sacrifices, and shalt do all that I command thee. But if thou desirest to eat, and eating of flesh delight thee, kill and eat according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee in thy cities, whether it be unclean, that is to say, having blemish or defect, or clean, that is to say, sound and without blemish, such as may be offered, as the roe and the hart shall thou eat it. Only the blood thou shalt not eat, but thou shalt pour it out upon the earth as water. Thou mayest not eat in thy towns and tithes of thy corn, and thy wine, and thy oil, the firstborn of thy herds and thy cattle, nor anything that thou vowest, and that thou wilt offer voluntarily, and the firstfruits of thy hands. But thou shalt eat them before the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant and maidservant, and the Levite that dwelleth in thy cities. And thou shalt rejoice and be fresh before the Lord thy God in all things, whereunto thou shalt put thy hand. Take heed thou forsake not the Levite all the time that thou livest in the land, when the Lord thy God shall have enlarged thy borders, as he hath spoken to thee, and thou wilt eat the flesh that thy soul desireth. And if the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, that his name should be there, be far off. Thou shalt kill of thy herds and of thy flocks, as I have commanded thee, and shalt eat in thy towns, as it pleaseth thee. Even as the roe and the hart is eaten, so shalt thou eat them. Both the clean and unclean shall eat of them alike. Only beware of this, that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is for the soul. And therefore thou must not eat the soul with the flesh, but thou shalt pour it upon the earth as water, that it may be well with thee and thy children after thee, when thou shalt do that which is pleasing in the sight of the Lord. But the things which thou hast sanctified and vowed to the Lord thou shalt take, and shalt come to the place which the Lord shall choose, and shalt offer thy oblations, the flesh, and the blood upon the altar of the Lord thy God. The blood of thy victims thou shalt pour on the altar, and the flesh thou thyself shalt eat. Observe and hear all the things that I command thee, that it may be well with thee and thy children after thee forever, when thou shalt do what is good and pleasing in the sight of the Lord thy God, when the Lord thy God shall have destroyed before thy face the nations, which then shalt go in to possess, and when thou shalt possess them, and dwell in their land, beware lest thou imitate them, after they are destroyed at thy coming in, and lest thou seek after their ceremony, saying, As these nations have worshipped their gods, so will I also worship. Thou shalt not do in like manner to the Lord thy God, for they have done to their gods all the abominations which the Lord abhorreth, offering their sons and daughters, and burning them with fire. What I command thee, that only do thou to the Lord, neither add anything nor diminish. If there rise in the midst of thee a prophet, or one that saith he hath dreamed a dream, and he foretell a sign and wonder, and that come to pass which he spoke, and he say to thee, Let us go and follow strange gods, which thou knowest not, and let us serve them. Thou shalt not hear the words of that prophet or dreamer, for the Lord your God trieth you, that it may appear whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul or not. Follow the Lord your God, and fear him, and keep his commandments, and hear his voice. Him you shall serve, and to him you shall cleave. And that prophet or forger of dreams shall be slain, because he spoke to draw you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you from the house of bondage, to make thee go out of the way which the Lord thy God commandeth thee. And thou shalt take away the evil out of the midst of thee. If thy brother, the son of thy mother, or thy son or daughter, or thy wife, that is in thy bosom, or thy friend, whom thou lovest as thy own soul, would persuade thee secretly, saying, Let us go, and serve strange gods, which thou knowest not, nor thy fathers, of all the nations round about that are near or far off, from one end of the earth to the other. Consent not to him, hear him not, neither let thy eye spare him to pity, and conceal him, but thou shalt presently put him to death, to let thy hand be first upon him, and afterwards the hands of all the people. With stones shall he be stoned to death, because he would have withdrawn thee from the Lord thy God, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage, that all Israel hearing may fear, and may do no more anything like this. If in one of thy cities, which the Lord thy God shall give thee to dwell in, thou hear some say, Children of Belial are gone out of the midst of thee, and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their city, and have said, Let us go and serve strange gods which you know not. Inquire carefully and diligently the truth of the thing by looking well into it. And if thou find that which is said to be certain, and that this abomination hath been really committed, thou shalt forthwith kill the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, and shalt destroy it and all things that are in it, even the cattle, and all the household goods that are there. Thou shalt gather together in the midst of the streets thereof, and shalt burn them with the city itself, so as to consume all for the Lord thy God, that it be a heap forever. It shall be built no more, and there shall nothing of that anathema stick to thy hand, that the Lord may turn from the wrath of his fury, and may have mercy on thee, and multiply thee as he swore to thy fathers. When thou shalt hear the voice of the Lord thy God, keeping all his precepts, which I command thee this day, that thou mayest do what is pleasing in the sight of the Lord thy God. Be ye children of the Lord your God, you shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness for the head, because thou art a holy people to the Lord thy God, and he chose thee to be his peculiar people of all nations that are upon the earth. Eat not the things that are unclean. These are the beasts that you shall eat, the ox, and the sheep, and the goat, the hart, and the roe, the buffle, the camelus, the pigog, the wild goat, and the camelopardus. Every beast that divideth the hoof in two parts, and cheweth the cud, you shall eat. But of them that chew the cud, but divide not the hoof, you shall not eat, such as the camel, the hare, and the cherogril, because they chew the cud, but divide not the hoof, they shall be unclean to you. The swine also, because it divideth the hoof, but cheweth not the cud, shall be unclean, their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcasses you shall not touch. These shall you eat of all that abide in the waters. All that have fins and scales you shall eat. Such as are without fins and scales you shall not eat, because they are unclean. All birds that are clean you shall eat. The unclean eat not, to wit, the eagle, and the gripe, and the osprey, the ringtail, and the vulture, and the kite according to their kind, and all of the raven's kind, and the ostrich, and the owl, and the laris, and the hawk according to its kind, the heron, and the swan, and the stork, and the cormorant, and the porphyrion, and the night crow, and the bittern, and the charadrian, every one in their kind, the hoop also, and the bat. Everything that creepeth and hath little wings shall be unclean, and shall not be eaten. All that is clean you shall eat, but whatsoever is dead of itself, eat not thereof. Give it to the stranger that is within thy gates to eat, or sell it to him, because thou art the holy people of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not boil a kid in the milk of his dam. Every year thou shalt set aside the tithes of all thy fruits that the earth bringeth forth, and thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, that his name may be called upon therein, the tithe of thy corn, and thy wine, and thy oil, and the firstborn of thy herds and thy sheep, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God at all times. But when the way and the peace which the Lord thy God shall choose are far off, and he hath blessed thee, and thou canst not carry all these things thither, thou shalt sell them all, and turn them into money, and shalt carry it in thy hand, and shalt go to the place which the Lord shall choose. And thou shalt buy with the same money whatsoever pleaseth thee, either of the herds or of the sheep, wine also, and strong drink, and all that thy soul desireth. And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God, and shalt feast, thou and thy house. And the Levite that is within thy gates, beware thou forsake him not, because he hath no other part in thy possession. The 3rd year thou shalt separate another tithe of all things that grow to thee at that time, and shalt lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite that hath no other part or possession with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, that are within thy gates, shall come and shall eat and be filled. The Lord thy God may bless thee in all the works of thy hands that thou shalt do. In the 7th year thou shalt make a remission, which shall be celebrated in this order. He to whom anything is owing from his friend or neighbor or brother cannot demand it again, because it is the year of remission of the Lord. Of the foreigner or stranger thou mayest exact it. Of thy countryman and neighbor thou shalt not have power to demand it again. And there shall be no poor nor beggar among you, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in the land which he will give thee in possession. Yet so if thou hear the voice of the Lord thy God, and keep all things that he hath ordained, in which I command thee this day, he will bless thee, as he hath promised. Thou shalt lend to many nations, and thou shalt borrow of no man. Thou shalt have dominion over very many nations, and no more shall have dominion over thee. If one of thy brethren that dwelleth within the gates of thy city in the land which the Lord thy God will give thee come to poverty, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor close thy hand, but shalt open it to the poor man, thou shalt lend him that which thou perceivest he hath need of. Beware, lest perhaps a wicked thought steal in upon thee, and thou say in thy heart, the 7th year of remission draweth nigh, and thou turn away thy eyes from thy poor brother, denying to lend him that which he asketh, lest he cry against thee to the Lord, and it become a sin unto thee. But thou shalt give to him, neither shalt thou do anything craftily in revealing his necessities, that the Lord thy God may bless thee at all times, and in all things to which thou shalt put thy hand. There will not be wanting poor in the land of thy habitation. Therefore I command thee to open thy hand to thy needy and poor brother that liveth in the land. When thy brother, a Hebrew man or Hebrew woman, is sold to thee, and hath served thee 6 years, in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free. And when thou sendest him out free, thou shalt not let him go away empty, but shalt give him for his way out of thy flocks, and out of thy barn floor, and thy winepress, wherewith the Lord thy God shall bless thee. Remember that thou also wast a bondservant in the land of Egypt, and the Lord thy God made thee free. And therefore I now command thee this, but if he say, I will not depart, because that he loveth thee in thy house, and findeth that he is well with thee, thou shalt take an awl, and bore through his ear in the door of thy house, and he shall serve thee forever. Thou shalt do in like manner to thy woman's servant also. Turn not away thy eyes from them when thou makest them free, because he hath served thee 6 years according to the wages of a hireling, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the works that thou dost. Of the firstlings that come of thy herds and thy sheep, thou shalt sanctify to the Lord thy God whatsoever is of the male sex. Thou shalt not work with the firstling of a bullock, and thou shalt not shear the firstlings of thy sheep. In the sight of the Lord thy God shalt thou eat them every year, in the place that the Lord shall choose, thou and thy house. But if it have a blemish, or be lame, or blind, or in any part disfigured or feeble, it shall not be sacrificed to the Lord thy God, but thou shalt eat it within the gates of thy city. The clean and the unclean shall eat them alike, as the roe and as the hart. Only thou shalt take heed not to eat their blood, but pour it out on the earth as water. Observe the month of new corn, which is the first of the spring, that thou mayest celebrate the feast to the Lord thy God, because in this month the Lord thy God brought thee out of Egypt by night. And thou shalt sacrifice the feast to the Lord thy God of sheep and of oxen in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, that his name may dwell there. Thou shalt not eat with it leavened bread. 7 days shalt thou eat without leaven, the bread of affliction, because thou camest out of Egypt in fear, that thou mayest remember the day of thy coming out of Egypt, all the days of thy life. No leaven shall be seen in all thy coasts for 7 days, neither shall any of the flesh of that which was sacrificed the first day in the evening remain until morning. Thou mayest not immolate the feast in any one of thy cities, which the Lord thy God will give thee, but in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, that his name may dwell there, thou shalt immolate the feast in the evening, at the going down of the sun, at which time thou camest out of Egypt. And thou shalt dress and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And in the morning rising up thou shalt go into thy dwellings. 6 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day, because it is the assembly of the Lord thy God, thou shalt do no work. Thou shalt number unto thee 7 weeks from that day, wherein thou didst put the sickle to the corn. And thou shalt celebrate the festival of weeks to the Lord thy God, a voluntary oblation of thy hand, which thou shalt offer according to the blessing of the Lord thy God. And thou shalt feast before the Lord thy God, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite that is within thy gates, and the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow who abide with you, in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, that his name may dwell there. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a servant in Egypt, and thou shalt keep and do the things that are commanded. Thou shalt celebrate the solemnity also of tabernacles 7 days, when thou hast gathered in thy fruit of the barn floor and of the winepress, And thou shalt make merry in thy festival time, thou, thy son, and thy daughter, thy manservant, and thy maidservant, the Levite also, and the stranger, and the fatherless of the widow, that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou celebrate feasts to the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose. And the Lord thy God will bless thee in all thy fruits, and in every work of thy hands, and thou shalt be in joy. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. No one shall appear with his hands empty before the Lord, but every one shall offer according to what he hath, according to the blessing of the Lord his God, which he shall give him. Thou shalt appoint judges and magistrates in all thy gates, which the Lord thy God shall give thee, in all thy tribes, that they may judge the people with just judgment, and not go aside to either part. Thou shalt not accept person nor gifts, for gifts blind the eyes of the wise, and change the words of the just. Thou shalt follow justly after that which is just, that thou mayest live and possess the land which the Lord thy God shall give thee. Thou shalt plant no grove, nor any tree near the altar of the Lord thy God. Neither shalt thou make nor set up to thyself a statue, which things the Lord thy God hateth. Thou shalt not sacrifice to the Lord thy God a sheep, or an ox wherein there is blemish or any fault, for that is an abomination to the Lord thy God. When there shall be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God shall give thee, man or woman that do evil in the sight of the Lord thy God, and transgress his covenant, so as to go and serve strange gods and adore them, the sun and the moon and all the host of heaven, which I have not commanded, and this is told thee, and hearing it thou hast inquired diligently, and found it to be true, and that the abomination is committed in Israel, thou shalt bring forth the man or the woman who have committed that most wicked thing to the gates of thy city, and they shall be stoned. By the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall he die that is to be slain. Let no man be put to death, when only one beareth witness against him. The hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to kill him, and afterwards the hands of the rest of the people, that thou mayest take away the evil out of the midst of thee. If thou perceive that there be among you a hard and doubtful matter in judgment between blood and blood, cause and cause, leprosy and leprosy, and thou see that the words of the judges within thy gates do vary, arise and go up to the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt come to the priests of the Levitical race, and to the judge that shall be at that time, and thou shalt ask of them, and they shall show thee the truth of the judgment. And thou shalt do whatsoever they shall say, that preside in the place which the Lord shall choose, and what they shall teach thee, according to his law, and thou shalt follow their sentence. Neither shalt thou decline to the right hand nor to the left hand, but he that will be proud and refuse to obey the commandment of the priest, who ministereth at that time to the Lord thy God, and the decree of the judge, that man shall die, and thou shalt take away the evil from Israel. And all the people hearing it shall fear, that no one afterwards swell with pride. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God will give thee, and possesseth it, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, as all nations have that all round about. Thou shalt set him whom the Lord thy God shall choose out of the number of thy brethren. Thou mayest not make a man of another nation king that is not thy brother. And when he is made king, he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor lead back the people into Egypt, being lifted up with the number of his horsemen, especially since the Lord hath commanded you to return no more the same way. He shall not have many wives, that may allure his mind, nor immense sums of silver and gold. But after he is raised to the throne of his kingdom, he shall copy out to himself the Deuteronomy of this law in a volume, taking the copy of the priests of the Levitical tribe, and he shall have it with him, and shall read it all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, and keep his words and ceremonies that are commanded in the law. And that his heart be not lifted up with pride over his brethren, nor decline to the right or to the left, that he and his sons may reign a long time over Israel. Get some water. All right. Chapter 18. The priests and Levites and all that are of the same tribe shall have no part nor inheritance with the rest of Israel, because they shall eat the sacrifices of the Lord and his oblations, and they shall receive nothing else of the possession of their brethren, for the Lord himself is their inheritance, as he hath said to them. This shall be the priest's due from the people, and from them that offer victims, whether they sacrifice an ox or a sheep. They shall give to the priest the shoulder and the breast, the first fruits also of corn, of wine, and of oil, and a part of the wool from the shearing of their sheep. For the Lord thy God hath chosen him of all thy tribes, to stand and to minister to the name of the Lord, him and his sons forever. If a Levite go out of any one of the cities throughout all Israel, in which he dwelleth, and have a longing mind to come to the place which the Lord shall choose, he shall minister in the name of the Lord his God, as all his brethren the Levites do, that shall stand at that time before the Lord. He shall receive the same portion of food that the rest do, besides that which is due to him in his own city, by succession from his fathers. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God shall give thee, beware lest thou have a mind to imitate the abominations of those nations. Neither let there be found among you any one that shall expiate his son or daughter, making them to pass through the fire, or that consoleth soothsayers, or observeth dreams and omens. Neither let there be any wizard, nor charmer, nor any one that consulteth pythonic spirits, or fortune-tellers, or that seeketh the truth from the dead. For the Lord abhorreth all these things, and for these abominations he will destroy them at thy coming. Thou shalt be perfect, and without spot before the Lord thy God. These nations, whose land thou shalt possess, hearken to the soothsayers and diviners, but thou art otherwise instructed by the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God will raise up to thee a prophet of thy nation, and of thy brethren like unto me. Him thou shalt hear, as thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the assembly was gathered together, and thou saidest, Let me not hear any more the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see any more this exceeding great fire, lest I die. And the Lord said to me, They have spoken all things well. I will raise them up a prophet out of the midst of their brethren like to thee. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I shall command him. And he that will not hear his words, which he shall speak in my name, I will be the revenger. But the prophet, who being corrupted with pride, shall speak in my name things that I did not command him to say, or in the name of strange gods, shall be slain. And if in silent thought thou answer, How shall I know the word that the Lord hath not spoken? Thou shalt have this sign. Whatsoever that same prophet foretelleth in the name of the Lord, and it cometh not to pass, that thing the Lord hath not spoken, but the prophet hath forged it by the pride of his mind, and therefore thou shalt not fear him. When the Lord thy God hath destroyed the nations, whose land he will deliver to thee, and thou shalt possess it, and shalt dwell in the cities and houses thereof, thou shalt separate to thee 3 cities in the midst of the land which the Lord will give thee in possession, paving diligently the way, and thou shalt divide the whole province of thy land equally into 3 parts, that he who is forced to flee for manslaughter may have near at hand whither to escape. This shall be the law of the slayer that fleeth, whose life is to be saved. He that killeth his neighbor ignorantly, and who is proved to have had no hatred against him yesterday and the day before, but to have gone with him to the wood to hew wood, and in cutting down the tree the axe slipped out of his hand, and the iron slipping from the handle struck his friend and killed him, he shall flee to one of the cities aforesaid and live, lest perhaps the next kinsman of him whose blood was shed, pushed on by his grief, should pursue and apprehend him. If the way be too long, and take away the life of him who is not guilty of death, because he is proved to have had no hatred before against him that was slain. Therefore I command thee that thou separate these cities at equal distance one from another. And when the Lord thy God shall have enlarged thy borders, as he swore to thy fathers, and shall give thee all the land that he promised them, Yet so, if thou keep his commandments, and do the things which I command thee this day, that thou love the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways at all times, thou shalt add to thee other 3 cities, and shalt double the number of the 3 cities aforesaid, that innocent blood may not be shed in the midst of the land which the Lord thy God will give thee to possess, lest thou be guilty of blood. But if any man hating his neighbor lie in wait for his life, and rise and strike him, and he die, and he flee to one of the cities aforesaid, the ancients of his city shall send, and take him out to the place of refuge, and shall deliver him into the hand of the kinsman of him whose blood was shed, and he shall die. Thou shalt not pity him, and thou shalt take away the guilt of innocent blood out of Israel, that it may be well with thee. Thou shalt not take nor remove thy neighbor's landmark, which thy predecessors have set in thy possession, which the Lord thy God will give thee in the land that thou shalt receive to possess. One witness shall not rise up against any man, whatsoever the sin or wickedness be. But in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word shall stand. If a lying witness stand against a man, accusing him of transgression, both of them, between whom the controversy is, shall stand before the Lord in the sight of the priests and the judges that shall be in those days. And when after most diligent inquisition they shall find that the false witnesses hath told a lie against his brother, they shall render to him as he meant to do to his brother. And thou shalt take away the evil out of the midst of thee, that others hearing may fear, and may not dare to do such things. Thou shalt not pity him, but shalt require life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. If thou go out to war against thy enemies, and see horsemen and chariots, and the numbers of the enemy's army greater than thine, thou shalt not fear them, because the Lord thy God is with thee, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt. And when the battle is now at hand, the priest shall stand before the army, and shall speak to the people in this manner. Hear, O Israel, you join the battle this day against your enemies. Let not your heart be dismayed. Be not afraid, do not give back. Fear ye them not, because the Lord your God is in the midst of you, and will fight for you against your enemies to deliver you from danger. And the captains shall proclaim through every band in the hearing of the army, What man is there that hath built a new house, and hath not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man dedicate it. What man is there that hath planted a vineyard, and hath not as yet made it to be common, whereof all men may eat? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the battle, and another man execute his office. What man is there that hath espoused a wife, and not taken her? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the war, and another man take her. After these things are declared, they shall add the rest, and shall speak to the people. What man is there that is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him go and return to his house, lest he make the hearts of his brethren to fear, as he himself is possessed with fear. And when the captains of the army shall hold their peace, and have made an end of speaking, every man shall prepare their bands to fight. If at any time thou come to fight against a city, thou shalt first offer it peace. If they receive it, and open the gates to thee, all the people that are therein shall be saved, and shall serve thee paying tribute. But if they will not make peace, and shall begin war against thee, thou shalt besiege it. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver it into thy hands, thou shalt slay all that are therein of the male sex with the edge of the sword, excepting women and children, cattle and other things that are in the city. And thou shalt divide all the prey to the army, and thou shalt eat the spoils of thy enemies, which the Lord thy God shall give thee. So shalt thou do to all cities that are at a great distance from thee, and are not of these cities which thou shalt receive in possession. But of those cities that shall be given to thee, thou shalt suffer none at all to live, but shalt kill them with the edge of the sword, to wit, the Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, lest they teach you to do all the abominations which they have done to their gods, and you should sin against the Lord your God. When thou hast besieged a city a long time, and have compassed it with bulwarks to take it, thou shalt not cut down the trees that may be eaten of, neither shalt thou spoil the country round about with axes. For it is a tree, and not a man, neither can it increase the number of them that fight against thee. But if there be any trees that are not fruitful, but wild and fit for other uses, cut them down and make engines, until thou take the city which fighteth against thee. Then there shall be found in the land which the Lord thy God will give thee the corpse of a man slain, and it is not known who is guilty of the murder. Thy ancients and judges shall go out and shall measure from the place where the body lieth the distance of every city around about. And the ancients of that city which they shall perceive to be nearer than the rest shall take a heifer of the herd that hath not drawn in the yoke, nor plowed the ground, and they shall bring her into a rough and stony valley that never was plowed nor sown, and there they shall strike off the head of the heifer. And the priests and the sons of Levi shall come, whom the Lord thy God hath chosen to minister to him, and to bless in his name, and that by their word every matter should be decided, and whatsoever is clean or unclean should be judged. And the ancients of that city shall come to the person slain, and shall wash their hands over the heifer that was killed in the valley, and shall say, Our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it. Be merciful to thy people Israel, whom thou hast redeemed, O Lord, and lay not innocent blood to their charge in the midst of thy people Israel. And the guilt of blood shall be taken from them, and thou shalt be free from the innocent's blood that was shed, when thou shalt have done what the Lord hath commanded thee. If thou go out to fight against thy enemies, and the Lord thy God deliver them into thy hand, and thou lead them away captives, and seest in the number of the captives a beautiful woman, and lovest her, and wilt have her to wife, thou shalt bring her into thy house, and she shall shave her hair, and pare her nails, and shall be put off the raiment wherein she was taken, and shall remain in thy house, and mourn for her father and mother 1 month. And after that thou shalt go in unto her, and shalt sleep with her, and she shall be thy wife. But if afterwards she please thee not, thou shalt let her go free. But thou mayest not sell her for money, nor oppress her by might, because thou hast humbled her. If a man have 2 wives, one beloved, and the other hated, and they have had children by him, and the son of the hated be the firstborn, and he meaneth to divide his substance among his sons, he may not make the son of the beloved the firstborn, and prefer him before the son of the hated. But he shall acknowledge the son of the hated for the firstborn, and shall give him a double portion of all he hath. For this is the first of his children, and to him are due the first birthrights. If a man have a stubborn and unruly son, who will not hear the commandments of his father or mother, and being corrected slighteth obedience, they shall take him and bring him to the ancients of his city, and to the gate of judgment, and shall say to them, This our son is rebellious and stubborn. He slighteth hearing our abominations. He giveth himself to revelling, to debauchery, and to banquetings. The people of the city shall stone him, and he shall die, that you may take away the evil out of the midst of you, and all Israel hearing it may be afraid. When a man hath committed a crime for which he is to be punished with death, and being condemned to die is hanged on a gibbet, his body shall not remain upon the tree, but shall be buried the same day. For he is accursed of God that hangeth on a tree, and thou shalt not defile thy land, which the Lord thy God shall give thee in possession. Thou shalt not pass by if thou seest thy brother's ox, or his sheep go astray, but thou shalt bring them back to thy brother. And if thy brother be not nigh, or thou know him not, thou shalt bring them to thy house, and they shall be with thee until thy brother seek them, and receive them. Thou shalt do in like manner with his ass, and with his raiment, and with everything that is thy brother's, which is lost. If thou find it, neglect it not, appertaining to another. If thou see thy brother's ass or his ox to be fallen down in the way, thou shalt not slight it, but shalt lift it up with him. A woman shall not be clothed with man's apparel, neither shall a man use woman's apparel, for he that doeth these things is abominable before God. If thou find as thou walkest by the way a bird's nest in a tree or on the ground, and the dam sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, thou shalt not take her with her young, but shalt let her go, keeping the young which thou hast caught, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live a long time. When thou buildest a new house, thou shalt make a battlement to the roof round about, lest blood be shed in thy house, and thou be guilty. If anyone slip and fall down headlong, thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with divers seeds, lest both the seed which thou hast sown and the fruit of the vineyard be sanctified together. Thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together. Thou shalt not wear a garment that is woven of woolen and linen together. Thou shalt make strings in the hem at the four corners of thy cloak, wherewith thou shalt be covered. If a man marry a wife, and afterwards hate her, and seek occasions to put her away, laying to her charge a very ill name, and say, I took this woman to wife, and going into her I found her not a virgin, her father and mother shall take her, and shall bring with them the tokens of her virginity to the ancients of the city that are in the gate. And the father shall say, I gave my daughter into this man to wife, and because he hateth her, he layeth to her charge a very ill name, so as to say, I found not thy daughter a virgin, and behold, these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the ancients of the city, and the ancients of that city shall take that man and beat him, condemning him besides in 100 sides of silver, which he shall give to the damsel's father, because he hath defamed by a very ill name a virgin of Israel. And he shall have her to wife, and may not put her away all the days of his life. But if what he charged her with be true, and virginity be not found in the damsel, they shall cast her out of the doors of her father's house. And the men of the city shall stone her to death, and she shall die, because she hath done a wicked thing in Israel, to play the whore in her father's house. And thou shalt take away the evil out of the midst of thee. If a man lie with another man's wife, they shall both die, that is to say, the adulterer and the adulteress, and thou shalt take away the evil out of Israel. If a man have espoused a damsel that is a virgin, and someone find her in the city and lie with her, thou shalt bring them both out to the gate of that city, and they shall be stoned, the damsel because she cried not out, being in the city, the man because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. And thou shalt take away the evil from the midst of thee. But if a man find a damsel that is betrothed in the field, and taking hold of her, lie with her, he alone shall die. The damsel shall suffer nothing, neither is she guilty of death. For as a robber riseth against his brother, and taketh away his life, so also did the damsel suffer. She was alone in the field, she cried, and there was no man to help her. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, who is not espoused, and taking her lie with her, and the matter come to judgment, he that lay with her shall give to the father of the maid 50 sides of silver, and shall have her to wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all the days of his life. No man shall take his father's wife, nor remove his covenant. An eunuch whose testicles are broken, or cut away, or yard cut off, shall not enter into the church of the Lord. A mamzer, that is to say, one born of a prostitute, shall not enter into the church of the Lord until the 10th generation. The Ammonite and the Moabite, even after the 10th generation, shall not enter into the church of the Lord forever, because they would not meet you with bread and water in the way when you came out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor from Mesopotamia and Syria to curse thee. The Lord thy God would not hear Balaam, and he turned his cursing into thy blessing, because he loved thee. Thou shalt not make peace with them, neither shalt thou seek their prosperity all the days of thy life forever. Thou shalt not abhor the Edomite, because he is thy brother, nor the Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. They that are born of them in the 3rd generation shall enter into the church of the Lord. When thou goest out to war against thy enemies, thou shalt keep thyself from every evil thing. If there be among you any man that is defiled in a dream by night, he shall go forth out of the camp, and shall not return before he be washed with water in the evening, and after sunset he shall return into the camp. Thou shalt have a place without the camp, to which thou mayest go for the necessities of nature, carrying a paddle at thy girdle. And when thou sittest down, thou shalt dig round about, and with the earth that is dug up thou shalt cover that which thou art eased of. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee, and to give up thy enemies to thee. And let thy camp be holy, and let no uncleanness appear therein, lest he go away from thee. Thou shalt not deliver to his master the servant that is fled to thee. He shall dwell with thee ill the place that shall please him, and shall rest in one of thy cities. Give him no trouble. There shall be no whore among the daughters of Israel, nor warmonger among the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not offer the hire of a strumpet, nor the price of a dog, in the house of the Lord thy God, whatsoever it be that thou hast vowed, because both these are an abomination to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not lend to thy brother money to usury, nor corn, nor any other thing, but to the stranger. To thy brother thou shalt lend that which he wanteth, without usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all thy works in the land, which thou shalt go in to possess. When thou hast made a vow to the Lord thy God, thou shalt not delay to pay it, because the Lord thy God will require it. And if thou delay, it shall be imputed to thee for a sin. If thou wilt not promise, thou shalt be without sin. But that which is once gone out of thy lips thou shalt observe, and shalt do as thou hast promised to the Lord thy God, and hast spoken with thy own will and with thy own mouth. Going into thy neighbour's vineyard, thou mayest eat as many grapes as thou pleasest, but must carry none out with thee. If thou go into thy friend's corn, thou mayest break the ears and rub them in thy hand, but not reap them with a sickle. If a man take a wife and have her, and she find not favour in his eyes, for some uncleanness, he shall write a bill of divorce, and shall give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And when she is departed, and marrieth another husband, and he also hateth her, and hath given her a bill of divorce, and hath sent her out of his house, or is dead, the former husband cannot take her again to wife, because she is defiled, and is become abominable before the Lord, lest thou cause thy land to sin, which the Lord thy God shall give thee to possess. When a man hath lately taken a wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall any public business be enjoined him, but he shall be free at home without fault, that for 1 year he may rejoice with his wife. Thou shalt not take the nether, nor the upper milestone to pledge, for he hath pledged his life to thee. If any man be found soliciting his brother of the children of Israel, and selling him shall take a price, he shall be put to death, and thou shalt take away the evil from the midst of thee. Observe diligently that thou incur not the stroke of the leprosy, but thou shalt do whatsoever the priests of the Levitical race shall teach thee, according to what I have commanded them, and fulfill thou it carefully. Remember what the Lord your God did to Mary, in the way when you came out of Egypt. When thou shalt demand of thy neighbour anything that he oweth thee, thou shalt not go into his house to take away a pledge, but then shalt stand without, and he shall bring out to thee what he hath. But if he be poor, the pledge shall not lodge with thee that night, but thou shalt restore it to him presently before the going down of the sun, that he may sleep in his own raiment and bless thee, and thou mayest have justice before the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not refuse the hire of the needy and the poor, whether he be thy brother or a stranger that dwelleth with thee in the land, and is within thy gates. But thou shalt pay him the price of his labour the same day, before the going down of the sun, because he is poor, and with it maintaineth his life, lest he cry against thee to the Lord, and it be reputed to thee for a sin. The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, nor the children for the fathers, but every one shall die for his own sin. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor the fatherless, neither shalt thou take away the widow's raiment for a pledge. Remember that thou wast a slave in Egypt, and the Lord thy God delivered thee from thence. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. When thou hast reaped the corn in thy field, and hast forgot, and left a sheaf, thou shalt not return to take it away, but thou shalt suffer the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow to take it away, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the works of thy hands. If thou have gathered the fruit of thy olive trees, thou shalt not return to gather whatsoever remaineth on the trees, but shalt leave it for the stranger, for the fatherless, and the widow. If thou make the vintage of thy vineyard, thou shalt not gather the clusters that remain, but they shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. Remember that thou also wast a bondman in Egypt, and therefore I command thee to do this thing. If there be a controversy between men, and they call upon the judges, they shall give the prize of justice to him whom they perceive to be just, and him whom they find to be wicked they shall condemn of wickedness. And if they see that the offender be worthy of stripes, they shall lay him down, and shall cause him to be beaten before them. According to the measure of the sin shall the measure also of the stripes be, yet so that they exceed not the number of 40, lest thy brother depart shamefully torn before thy eyes. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out thy corn on the floor. When brethren dwell together, and one of them dieth without children, the wife of the deceased shall not marry to another, but his brother shall take her, and raise up seed for his brother. And the first son he shall have of her he shall call by his name, that his name be not abolished out of Israel. But if he will not take his brother's wife, who by law belongeth to him, the woman shall go to the gate of the city, and call upon the ancients, and say, My husband's brother refuseth to raise up his brother's name in Israel, and will not take me to wife. And they shall cause him to be sent forthwith, and shall ask him. If he answer, I will not take her to wife, the woman shall come to him before the ancients, and shall take off his shoe from his foot, and spit in his face, and say, So shall it be done to the man that will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel the house of the unshod. If two men have words together, and one begin to fight against the other, and the other's wife, willing to deliver her husband out of the hand of the stronger, shall put forth her hand and take him by the secrets, thou shalt cut off her hand, neither shalt thou be moved with any pity in her regard. Thou shalt not have divers weights in thy bag, a greater and a less, neither shall there be in thy house a greater bushel and a less. Thou shalt have a just and a true weight, and thy bushel shall be equal and true, that thou mayest live a long time upon the land which the Lord thy God shall give thee. For the Lord thy God abhorreth him that doth these things, and he hateth all injustice. Remember what Amalek did to thee in the way when thou camest out of Egypt, how he met thee, and slew the hindmost of the army, who sat down being weary, when thou wast spent with hunger and labor, and he feared not God. Therefore when the Lord thy God shall give thee rest, and shall have subdued all the nations round about, and the land which he hath promised thee, thou shalt blot out his name from under heaven. See thou forget it not. And when thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God will give thee to possess, and hast conquered it, and dwellest in it, thou shalt take the first of all thy fruits, and put them in a basket, and shalt go to the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, that his name may be invocated there. And thou shalt go to the priest that shall be in those days, and say to him, I profess this day before the Lord thy God, that I am come into the land for which he swore to our fathers, that he would give it us. And the priest, taking the basket at thy hand, shall set it before the altar of the Lord thy God. And thou shalt speak thus in the sight of the Lord thy God. The Syrian pursued my father, who went down into Egypt, and sojourned there in a very small number, and grew into a nation great and strong, and of an infinite multitude. And the Egyptians afflicted us, and persecuted us, laying on us most grievous burdens. And we cried to the Lord God our fathers, who heard us, and looked down upon our affliction and labor and distress, and brought us out of Egypt with a strong hand, and a stretched out arm, with great terror, with signs and wonders, and brought us into this place, and gave us this land flowing with milk and honey. And therefore now I offer the first fruits of the land which the Lord hath given me, and thou shalt leave them in the sight of the Lord thy God, adoring the Lord thy God, and thou shalt feast in all the good things which the Lord thy God hath given thee, and thy house, thou and the Levite, and the stranger that is with thee. When thou hast made an end of tithing all thy fruits, in the 3rd year of tithes, thou shalt give it to the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, that they may eat within thy gates, and be filled. And thou shalt speak thus in the sight of the Lord thy God, I have taken that which was sanctified out of my house, and I have given it to the Levite, and to the stranger, and to the fatherless, and to the widow, as thou hast commanded me. I have not transgressed thy commandments, nor forgotten thy precepts. I have not eaten of them is my mourning, nor separated them for any uncleanness, nor spent anything of them in funerals. I have obeyed the voice of the Lord my God, and have done all things as thou hast commanded me. Look from thy sanctuary in thy high habitation of heaven, and bless thy people Israel, and the land which thou hast given us, as thou didst swear to our fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey. This day the Lord thy God hath commanded thee to do these commandments and judgments, and to keep and fulfill them with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Thou hast chosen the Lord this day to be thy God, and to walk in his ways and keep his ceremonies and precepts and judgments, and obey his command. And the Lord hath chosen thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath spoken to thee, and to keep all his commandments, and to make thee higher than all nations which he hath created, to his own praise and name and glory, that thou mayest be a holy people of the Lord thy God, as he hath spoken. And Moses with the ancients of Israel commanded the people, saying, Keep every commandment that I command you this day. And when you are passed over the Jordan into the land which the Lord thy God will give thee, thou shalt set up great stones, and shalt plaster them over with plaster, that thou mayest write on them all the words of this law, when thou art passed over the Jordan, that thou mayest enter into the land which the Lord thy God will give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, as he swore to thy fathers. Therefore, when you are passed over the Jordan, set up the stones which I command you this day in Mount Hebel, and thou shalt plaster them with plaster. And thou shalt build there an altar to the Lord thy God, of stones which iron hath not touched, and of stones not fashioned nor polished. And thou shalt offer upon it holocausts to the Lord thy God, and shalt immolate peace victims, and eat there, and feast before the Lord thy God. And thou shalt write upon the stones all the words of this law plainly and clearly. And Moses and the priests of the race of Levi said to all Israel, Attend and hear, O Israel. This day thou art made the people of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt hear his voice, and do the commandments and justices which I command thee. And Moses commanded the people in that day, saying, These shall stand upon Mount Gerizim to bless the people, when you are past the Jordan: Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Joseph, and Benjamin. And over against them shall stand on Mount Hebal to curse Reuben, Gad, and Asher, and Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. And the Levites shall pronounce, and say to all the men of Israel with a loud voice, Cursed be the man that maketh a graven and molten thing, the abomination of the Lord, the work of the hands of artificers, and shall put it in a secret place. And all the people shall answer and say, Amen. Cursed be he that honoureth not his father and mother. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that removeth his neighbour's landmarks. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that maketh the blind to wander out his way. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that perverteth the judgment of the stranger, of the fatherless and the widow. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that lieth with his father's wife, and uncovereth his bed. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that lieth with any beast. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that lieth with his sister, the daughter of his father, or of his mother. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that lieth with his mother-in-law. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that secretly killeth his neighbour. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that taketh gifts to slay an innocent person. And all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that abideth not in the words of this law, and fulfilleth them not in work. And all the people shall say, Amen. Now if thou wilt hear the voice of the Lord thy God, to do and keep all his commandments, which I command thee this day, the Lord thy God will make thee higher than all the nations that are on earth. And all these blessings shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Yet so, if thou hear his precepts, blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the droves of thy herds, and the folds of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy bonds, and blessed thy stores. Blessed shalt thou be coming in and going out. The Lord shall cause thy enemies that rise up against thee to fall down before thy face. One way shall they come out against thee, and 7 ways shall they flee before thee. The Lord will send forth a blessing upon thy storehouses, and upon all the works of thy hands, and will bless thee in the land that thou shalt receive. The Lord will raise thee up to be a holy people to himself, as he swore to thee. If thou keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways, and all the people of the earth shall see that the name of the Lord is invocated upon thee, and they shall fear thee. The Lord will make thee abound with all goods, with the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy cattle, with the fruit of thy land, which the Lord swore to thy fathers that he would give thee. The Lord will open his excellent treasure, the heaven, that it may give rain in due season. And he will bless all the works of thy hands, and thou shalt lend to many nations, and shalt not borrow of any one. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be always above and not beneath. Yet so if thou wilt hear the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, and keep and do them, and turn not away from neither to the right hand nor to the left, nor follow strange gods, nor worship them, but if thou wilt not hear the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep and to do all his commandments and ceremonies, which I command thee this day, all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, cursed in the field, cursed shall be thy barn, and cursed thy stores. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy ground, the herds of thy oxen, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be coming in, and cursed going out. The Lord shall send upon thee famine and hunger, and a rebuke upon all the works which thou shalt do, until he consume and destroy thee quickly, for thy most wicked inventions, by which thou hast forsaken me. May the Lord set the pestilence upon thee, until he consume thee out of the land which thou shalt go in to possess. May the Lord afflict thee with miserable want, with a fever and with cold, with burning and with heat, with corrupted air and with blasting, and pursue thee till thou perished. Be the heaven that is over thee of brass, and the ground that treadest on of iron. The Lord give thee dust for rain upon thy land, and let ashes come down from heaven upon thee, till thou be consumed. The Lord make thee to fall down before thy enemies. 1 way mayest thou go out against them, and flee 7 ways, and be scattered throughout all the kingdoms of the earth. And be thy carcass meat for all the fowls of the air, and the beasts of the field, and be there none to drive them away. The Lord strike thee with the ulcer of Egypt, and the part of thy body, by which the dung is cast out, with the scab and with the itch, so that thou canst not be healed. The Lord strike thee with madness and blindness and fury of mind, and mayest thou grope a midday as the blind is wont to grope in the dark, not make straight thy ways. And mayest thou at all times suffer wrong and be oppressed with violence, and mayest thou have no one to deliver thee. Mayest thou take a wife, and another sleep with her. Mayest thou build a house and not dwell therein. Mayest thou plant a vineyard and not gather the vintage thereof. May thy ox be slain before thee, and thou not eat thereof. May thy ass be taken away in thy sight, and not restored to thee. May thy sheep be given to thy enemies, and may there be none to help thee. May thy sons and thy daughters be given to another people, thy eyes looking on and languishing at the sight of them all the day. And may there be no strength in thy hand. May a people which thou knowest not eat the fruits of thy hand, thy land, and all thy labors. And mayest thou always suffer oppression, and be crushed at all times, and be astonished at the terror of those things which thy eyes shall see. May the Lord strike thee with every sore ulcer in the knees and in the legs, and be thou incurable from the sole of the foot to the top of the head. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, whom thou shalt have appointed over thee, into the nation which thou and thy fathers know not. And there thou shalt serve strange gods, wood and stone, and thou shalt be lost, as a proverb and a byword to all people, among whom the Lord shall bring thee in. Thou shalt cast much seed into the ground, and gather little, because the locust shall consume all. Thou shalt plant a vineyard and dig it, and shalt not drink the wine, nor gather anything thereof, because it shall be wasted with worms. Thou shalt have olive trees in all thy borders, and shalt not be anointed with the oil, for the olives shall fall off and perish. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, and thou shalt not enjoy them, because they shall be led into captivity. The blast shall consume all the trees and the fruits of thy ground. The stranger that liveth with thee in the land shall rise up over thee, and shall be higher, and thou shalt go down and be lower. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be as the head, and thou shalt be the tail. And all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue and overtake thee till thou perish, because thou heardest not the voice of the Lord thy God, and didst not keep his commandments and ceremonies which he commandeth thee. And they shall be as signs and wonders on thee, and on thy seed forever, because thou didst not serve the Lord thy God with joy and gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Thou shalt serve thy enemy, whom the Lord will send upon thee in hunger and thirst and nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put an iron yoke upon thy neck till he consume thee. The Lord will bring upon thee a nation from afar, and from the uttermost ends of the earth, like an eagle that flieth swiftly, whose tongue thou canst not understand. A most insolent nation, that will show no regard to the ancients, nor have pity on the infant, and will devour the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruits of thy land, until thou be destroyed, and will leave thee no wheat, nor wine, nor oil, nor herds of oxen, nor flocks of sheep, until he destroy thee, and consume thee in all thy cities, and thy strong and high walls be brought down, wherein thou trustest. In all thy land thou shalt be besieged within thy gates, in all thy land which the Lord thy God will give thee, and thou shalt eat the fruit of thy womb, and the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God shall give thee, in the distress and extremity wherewith thy enemies shall oppress thee. The man that is nice among you, and very delicate, shall envy his own brother, and his wife that lieth in his bosom, so that he will not give them of the flesh of his children, which he shall eat. Because he hath nothing else in the siege and the want, wherewith thy enemies shall distress thee within all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman, that could not go upon the ground, nor set down her foot for overmuch in niceness and tenderness, will envy her husband who lieth in her bosom, the flesh of her son and of her daughter, and the filth of the afterbirths that come forth from between her thighs, and the children that are born the same hour, for they shall eat them secretly for the want of all things, in the siege and distress, wherewith thy enemies shall oppress thee within thy gates. If thou wilt not keep and fulfill all the words of this law that are written in this volume, and fear his glorious and terrible name, that is the Lord thy God, the Lord shall increase thy plagues, and the plagues of thy seed, plagues great and lasting, infirmities grievous and perpetual. And he shall bring back on thee all the afflictions of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and thy shall stick fast to thee. Moreover, the Lord will bring upon thee all the diseases and plagues that are not written in the volume of this law till he consume thee. And you shall remain few in number, who before were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou heardest not the voice of the Lord thy God. And as the Lord rejoiced upon you before doing good to you and multiplying you, so he shall rejoice destroying and bringing you to naught, so that you shall be taken away from the land which thou shalt go in to possess. The Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the farthest parts of the earth to the ends thereof, and there thou shalt serve strange gods, which both thou art ignorant of and thy fathers, wood and stone. Neither shalt thou be quiet, even in those nations, nor shalt there be any rest for the sole of thy foot. For the Lord will give thee a fearful heart, and languishing eyes, and a soul consumed with pensiveness. And thy life shall be as it were hanging before thee. Thou shalt fear night and day, neither shalt thou trust thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Who will grant me evening? And at evening, who will grant me morning? For the fearfulness of thy heart, wherewith thou shalt be terrified, and of those things which thou shalt see with thy eyes. The Lord shall bring thee again with ships into Egypt, by the way whereof he said to thee that thou shouldest see it no more. There shalt thou be set to sail to thy enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. These are the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, beside that covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moses called all Israel and said to them, You have seen all the things that the Lord did before you in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to his whole land, the great temptations which thy eyes have seen, those mighty signs and wonders, and the Lord hath not given you a heart to understand, and eyes to see, and ears that may hear, unto this present day. He hath brought you 40 years through the desert. Your garments are not worn out, neither are the shoes of your feet consumed with age. You have not eaten bread, nor have you drunk wine or strong drink, that you might know that I am the Lord your God. And you came to this place. Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, came out against us to fight, and we slew them, and took their land and delivered it for a possession to Reuben and Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. Keep therefore the words of this covenant, and fulfill them, that you may understand all that you do. You all stand this day before the Lord your God, your princes and tribes, and ancients and doctors, all the people of Israel, your children and your wives, and the stranger that abideth with thee in the camp, besides the hewers of wood, and them that bring water, that thou mayest pass in the covenant of the Lord thy God, and in the oath which this day the Lord thy God maketh with thee, that he may raise thee up a people to himself, and he may be thy God as he hath spoken to thee, and as he swore to thy fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant, and confirm these oaths, but with all that are present and that are absent. For you know how we dwelt in the land of Egypt, and how we have passed through the midst of nations, and passing through them, you have seen their abominations and filth, that is to say, their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which they worshipped, lest perhaps there should be among you a man or a woman, a family or a tribe, whose heart is turned away this day from the Lord our God, to go and serve the gods of those nations, and there should be among you a root bringing forth gall and bitterness. And when he shall hear the words of this oath, he should bless himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, and will walk on in the naughtiness of my heart, and the drunken may consume the thirsty, and the Lord should not forgive him. But his wrath and jealousy against that man should be exceedingly enkindled at that time, and all the curses that are written in this volume should light upon him, and the Lord should blot out his name from under heaven, and utterly destroy him out of all the tribes of Israel, according to the curses that are contained in the book of this law and covenant. And the following generation shall say, and the children that shall be born there hereafter, and the strangers that shall come from afar, seeing the plagues of that land and the evils wherewith the Lord hath afflicted it, burning it with brimstone and heat of salt, so that it cannot be sown any more, nor any green thing grow therein, after the example of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Seboim, which the Lord destroyed in his wrath and indignation. And all the nations shall say, Why hath the Lord done thus to this land? What meaneth this exceeding great heat of his wrath? And they shall answer, Because they forsook the covenant of the Lord, which he made with their fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. And they have served strange gods, and adored them, whom they knew not, and for whom they had not been assigned. Therefore the wrath of the Lord was kindled against this land, to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this volume. And he hath cast them out of their land in anger and in wrath, and in very great indignation, and hath thrown them into a strange land, as it is seen this day, secret things to the Lord our God, things that are manifest to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. Now when all these things shall be come upon thee, the blessing or the curse, which I have set forth before thee, and thou shalt be touched with repentance of thy heart among all the nations, into which the Lord thy God shall have scattered thee, and shalt return to him, and obey his commandments, as I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, the Lord thy God will bring back again thy captivity, and will have mercy on thee, and gather thee again out of all the nations, into which he scattered thee before. If thou be driven as far as the poles of heaven, the Lord thy God will fetch thee back from thence, and will take thee to himself, and bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And blessing thee, he will make thee more numerous than were thy fathers. The Lord thy God will circumcise thy heart, and the heart of thy seed, that then mayest love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And he will turn all these curses upon thy enemies, and upon them that hate and persecute thee. But thou shalt return and hear the voice of the Lord thy God, and shalt do all the commandments which I command thee this day. And the Lord thy God will make thee abound in all the works of thy hands, in the fruit of thy womb, and in the fruit of thy cattle, in the fruitfulness of thy land, and in the plenty of all things. For the Lord will return to rejoice over thee in all good things, as he rejoiced in thy fathers. Yet so if thou hear the voice of the Lord thy God, and keep his precepts and ceremonies, which are written in this law, and return to the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul, this commandment that I command thee this day is not above thee, nor far off from thee, nor is it in heaven, that thou shouldest say, which of us can go up to heaven to bring it unto us, and we may hear and fulfill it in work. Nor is it beyond the sea, that thou mayest excuse thyself and say, which of us can cross the sea and bring it unto us, that we may hear and do that which is commanded? But the word is very nigh unto thee, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayest do it. Consider that I have set before thee this day life and good, and on the other hand death and evil, that thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways, and keep his commandments and ceremonies and judgments, and thou mayest live, and he may multiply thee, and bless thee in the land which thou shalt go in to possess. But if thy heart be turned away, so that thou wilt not hear, and being deceived with error thou adore strange gods and serve them, I foretell thee this day that thou shalt perish, and shalt remain but a short time in the land, to which thou shalt pass over the Jordan, and shalt go in to possess it. I call heaven and earth to witness this day that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Choose therefore life, that both thou and thy seed may live, and that thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and obey his voice, and adhere to him. For he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land for which the Lord swore to thy fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he would give it them. And Moses went and spoke all these words to all Israel. And he said to them, I am this day 120 years old. I can no longer go out and come in, especially as the Lord also hath said to me, O thou shalt not pass over this Jordan. The Lord thy God then will pass over before thee. He will destroy all these nations in thy sight, and thou shalt possess them. And this Joshua shall go over before thee, as the Lord hath spoken, and the Lord shall do to them as he did to Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, and to their land, and shall destroy them. Therefore, when the Lord shall have delivered these also to you, you shall do in like manner to them as I have commanded you. Do manfully and be of good heart. Fear not, nor be dismayed at their sight. For the Lord thy God, he himself is thy leader, and will not leave thee nor forsake thee. And Moses called Joshua, and said to him before all Israel, Take courage and be valiant, for thou shalt bring this people into the land which the Lord swore he would give to their fathers, and thou shalt divide it by lot. And the Lord who is your leader, he himself will be with thee. He will not leave thee nor forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. And Moses wrote this law, and delivered it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the ancients of Israel. And he commanded them, saying, After 7 years, in the year of remission, in the feast of tabernacles, when all Israel come together, to appear to the sight of the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose, thou shalt read the words of this law before all Israel, in their hearing. And the people being all assembled together, both men and women, children and strangers, that are within thy gates, that hearing they may learn and fear the Lord your God, and keep and fulfill all the words of this law, that their children also, who now are ignorant, may hear and fear the Lord their God all the days that they live in the land whither you are going over the Jordan to possess it. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, the days of thy death are nigh. Call Joshua, and stand ye in the tabernacle of the testimony, that I may give him a charge. So Moses and Joshua went and stood in the tabernacle of the testimony. And the Lord appeared there in the pillar of a cloud, which stood in the entry of the tabernacle. And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people rising up will go a-fornicating after strange gods in the land to which it goeth to dwell. There will they forsake me, and will make void the covenant which I have made with them. And my wrath shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured. All evils and afflictions shall find them, so that they shall say in that day, In truth, it is because God is not with me that these evils have found me. But I will hide and cover my face in that day for all the evils which they have done, because they have followed strange gods. Now therefore write you this canticle, and teach the children of Israel, that they may know it by heart, and sing it by mouth. And this song may be unto me for a testimony among the children of Israel. For I will bring them into the land, for which I swore to their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey. When they have eaten, and are full and fat, they will turn away after strange gods, and will serve them, and will despise me, and make void my covenant. And after many evils and afflictions shall have come upon them, this canticle shall answer them for a testimony, which no oblivion shall take away out of the mouth of their seed. For I know their thoughts, and what they are about to do this day, before that I bring them into the land which I have promised them. Moses therefore wrote the canticle, and taught it to the children of Israel. And the Lord commanded Joshua the son of Nun, and said, Take courage, and be valiant, for thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I have promised, and I will be with thee. Therefore, after Moses had wrote the words of this law in a volume, and finished it, he commanded the Levites, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, Take this book, and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a testimony against thee. For I know thy obstinacy, and thy most stiff neck. While I am yet living, and going in with you, you have always been rebellious against the Lord. How much more when I shall be dead? Gather unto me all the ancients of your tribes, and your doctors, and I will speak these words in their hearing, and will call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will do wickedly, and will quickly turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And evil shall come upon you in the later times, when you shall do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him by the works of your hands. Moses therefore spoke in the hearing of the whole assembly of Israel the words of this canticle, and finished it even to the end. Hear, O ye heavens, the things I speak. Let the earth give ear to the words of my mouth. Let my doctrine gather as the rain. Let my speech distill as the dew, as a shower upon the herb, as drops upon the grass, because I will invoke the name of the Lord. Give ye magnificence to our God. The works of God are perfect, and all his ways are judgments. God is faithful and without any iniquity. He is just and right. They have sinned against him, and are knows of his children in their filth. They are a wicked and perverse generation. Is this the return thou makest to the Lord, O foolish and senseless people? Is not he thy father that hath possessed thee, and made thee, and created thee? Remember the days of old. Think upon every generation. Ask thy father, and he will declare to thee. Thy elders and thy will tell thee. When the Most High divided the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he appointed the bounds of people according to the number of the children of Israel. But the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob the lot of his inheritance. He found him in a desert land, in a place of horror, in a vast wilderness, and he led him out, and he led him about, and taught him, and he kept him as the apple of his eye, as the eagle enticing her young to fly. And hovering over them, he spread his wings, and hath taken him and carried him on his shoulders. The Lord alone was his leader, and there was no strange god with him. he set him upon high land, that he might eat the fruits of the fields, that he might suck honey out of the rock, and oil out of the hardest stone, butter of the herd, and milk of the sheep, with the fat of lambs, and of the rams of the breed of Basan, and goats with the marrow of wheat, and might drink the purest blood of the grape. The beloved grew fat and kicked. He grew fat and thick and gross. He forsook God who made him, and departed from God his Savior. They provoked him by strange gods, and stirred him up to anger with their abominations. They sacrificed to devils and not to God, to gods whom they knew not, that were newly come up, whom their fathers worshipped not. Thou hast forsaken the God that begat thee, and hast forgotten the Lord that created thee. The Lord saw and was moved to wrath, because his own sons and daughters provoked him. And he said, I will hide my face from them, and will consider what their last end shall be. For it is a perverse generation, and unfaithful children. They have provoked me with that which has no God, and have angered me with their vanities. And I will provoke them with that which is no people, and will vex them with a foolish nation. A fire is kindled in my wrath, and shall burn even to the lowest hell, and shall devour the earth with her increase, and shall burn the foundations of the mountains. I will heap evils upon them, and will spend my arrows among them. They shall be consumed with famine, and birds shall devour them with a most bitter bite. I will send the teeth of beasts upon them, with the fury of creatures that trail upon the ground, and of serpents. Without the sword shall lay them waste, and terror within, both the young man and the virgin, the sucking child with the man in years. I said, Where are they? I will make the memory of them to cease from among men. But for the wrath of the enemies I have deferred it, lest perhaps their enemies might be proud, and should say, Almighty hand, and not the Lord, hath done all these things. They are a nation without counsel, without wisdom. Oh, that they would be wise, and would understand, and would provide for the last end. How should one pursue, after 1,000, and two chase 10,000? Was it not because their God had sold them, and the Lord had shut them up? For our God is not as their gods. Our enemies themselves are judges. Their vines are of the vineyard of Sodom, and of the suburbs of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, and their clusters most bitter. Their wine is the gall of dragons, and the venom of asps, which is incurable. Are not these things stored up with me, and sealed up in my treasures? Revenge is mine, and I will repay them in due time, that their foot may slide. The day of destruction is at hand, and the time makes haste to come. The Lord will judge his people, and will have mercy on his servants. He shall see that their hand is weakened, and that they who were shut up have also failed, and they that remained are consumed. And he shall say, Where are their gods in whom they trusted, of whose victims they ate the fat, and drank the wine of their drink offerings? Let them arise and help you, and protect you in your distress. See that I alone am, and there is no other God besides me. I will kill, and I will make to live. I will strike, and I will heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hand. I will lift up my hand to heaven, and I will say, I live forever. If I shall whet my sword as a lightning in my hand, take hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and repay them that hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh, of the blood of the slain and of the captivity, of the bare head of the enemies. Praise his people, ye nations, for he will revenge the blood of his servants, and will render vengeance to their enemies, and he will be merciful to the land of his people. So Moses came and spoke all the words of this canticle in the ears of the people, and Joshua the son of Nun. And he ended all these words, speaking to Israel, to all Israel. And he said to them, Set your hearts on all the words which I testify to you this day, which you shall command your children to observe and to fulfill all that is written in this law. For they are not commanded you in vain, but that every one should live in them, and that doing them you may continue a long time in the land whither you are going over the Jordan to possess it. And the Lord spoke to Moses the same day, saying, Go up into this mountain Abarim, that is to say, of passages, unto Mount Nebo, which is the land of Moab over against Jericho, and see the land of Canaan, which I will deliver to the children of Israel to possess, and die thou in the mountain. When thou art gone up into it, thou shalt be gathered to thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Her, and was gathered to his people, because you trespassed against me in the midst of the children of Israel, with the waters of contradiction in cades of the desert of Sin. And you did not sanctify me among the children of Israel. Thou shalt see the land before thee, which I will give to the children of Israel, but thou shalt not enter it. This is a blessing wherewith the man of God Moses blessed the children of Israel before his death. And he said, The Lord came from Sinai, and from Seir he rose up to us. He hath appeared from Mount Paran, and with him thousands of saints. In his right hand a fiery law. He hath loved the people. All the saints are in his hand, and they that approach to his feet shall receive of his doctrine. Moses commanded us a law, the inheritance of the multitude of Jacob. He shall be king with the most right, the princes of the people being assembled with the tribes of Israel. Let Reuben live, and not die, and be he small in number. This is the blessing of Judah. Hear, O Lord, the voice of Judah, and bring him in unto his people. His hands shall fight for him, and he shall be his helper against his enemies. To Levi also he said, Thy perfection and thy doctrine be to thy holy man, whom thou hast proved in the temptation, and judged at the waters of contradiction, who hath said to his father and to his mother, I do not know you, and to his brethren, I know you not, and their own children they have not known. These have kept thy word, and observed thy covenant, thy judgments, O Jacob, and thy law, O Israel. They shall put incense in thy wrath, and holocaust upon thy altar. Bless, O Lord, his strength, and receive the works of his hands. Strike the backs of his enemies, and let not them that hate him rise. And to Benjamin he said, The best beloved of the Lord shall dwell confidently in him. As in the bride chamber shall he abide all the day long, and between his shoulders shall be rest. To Joseph also he said, Of the blessing of the Lord be this land, of the fruits of heaven, and of the dew, and of the deep that lieth beneath, of the fruits brought forth by the sun and by the moon, of the tops of the ancient mountains, of the fruits of the everlasting hills, and of the fruits of the earth and of the fullness thereof, the blessing of him that appeared in the bush, come upon the head of Joseph, and upon the crown of the Nazarite among his brethren. His beauty as of the firstling of a bullock, his horns as the horns of the rhinoceros. With them shall he push the nations even to the ends of the earth. These are the multitudes of Ephraim, and these the thousands of Manasseh. And to Zebulun he said, Rejoice, O Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tabernacles. They shall call the people to the mountain. There shall thy sacrifice the victims of justice, who shall suck as milk the abundance of the sea, and the hidden treasures of the sands. And to Gad he said, Blessed be Gad in his breadth. He hath rested as a lion, and hath seized upon the arm and the top of the head. And he saw his preeminence, that in his portion the teacher was laid up, who was with the princes of the people, and did the justices of the Lord, and his judgment with Israel. To Dan also he said, Dan is a young lion. He shall flow plentifully from Basan. And to Naphtali he said, Naphtali shall enjoy abundance, shall be full of the blessings of the Lord. He shall possess the sea and the south. To Asher also he said, Let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. His shoes shall be iron and brass. As the days of thy youth, so also shall thy old age be. There is no other God like the God of the righteous. He that is mounted upon the heaven is thy helper. By his magnificence the clouds run hither and thither. His dwelling is above, and underneath are the everlasting arms. He shall cast out the enemy from before thee, and shall say, Be thou brought to naught. Israel shall dwell in safety, and alone. The eye of Jacob in a land of corn and wine, and the heavens shall be misty with dew. Blessed art thou, Israel, who is like to thee, O people, that art saved by the Lord, the shield of thy help, and the sword of thy glory. Thy enemies shall deny thee, and thou shalt tread upon their necks. Then Moses went up from the plains of Moab upon Mount Nebo to the top of Fasca, over against Jericho. And the Lord showed him all the land of Galaad, as far as Dan, and all Naphtali, the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah into the furthermost sea, and the south part, and the breadth of the plain of Jericho, the city of palm trees, as far as Segor. And the Lord said to him, This is the land for which I swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying, I will give it to thy seed. Thou hast seen it with thy eyes, and shalt not pass over to it. And Moses the servant of the Lord died there, in the land of Moab, by the commandment of the Lord. And he buried him in the valley of the land of Moab, over against Fogor. And no man hath known of his sepulchre until this present day. Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eye was not dim, neither were his teeth moved. And the children of Israel mourned for him in the plains of Moab 30 days. And the days of their mourning in which they mourned for Moses were ended. And Joshua, the son of Nun, was filled with the spirit of wisdom, because Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel obeyed him, and did as the Lord commanded Moses. And there arose no more a prophet in Israel, like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. And all the signs and wonders which he sent by him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to his whole land, and all the mighty hand and great miracles which Moses did before all Israel. So there we go. We've finished the book of Deuteronomy, and thus finishing the book of Deuteronomy, we have also finished reading about the life and the legacy of the prophet Moses. And though he was not brought into the promised land, he was able to die upon that hill and look upon the promised land, which the next generation are going to hopefully take it over as we read the next chapter of Joshua and see what happens there, or next book of Joshua, and see what happens there. So without further ado, let's get started with Joshua, shall we? I think we're going to read the first 12 chapters, and then we're going to call it a day. Now it came to pass after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, that the Lord spoke to Joshua the son of Nun, the minister of Moses, and said to him, Moses, my servant, is dead. Arise, and pass over this Jordan, thou and thy people with thee, into the land which I will give to the children of Israel. I will deliver to you every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, as I have said to Moses. From the desert and from Libanus unto the great river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, unto the great sea, toward the going down of the sun shall be your border. No man shall be able to resist you all the days of thy life. As I have been with Moses, so will I be with thee. I will not leave thee, nor forsake thee. Take courage and be strong, for thou shalt divide by lot to this people the land for which I swore to their fathers, that I would deliver it to them. Take courage, therefore, and be very valiant, that thou mayest observe and do all the law, which Moses my servant hath commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest understand all things which thou dost. Let not the book of this law depart from thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate on it day and night, that thou mayest observe and do all things that are written in it. Then shalt thou direct thy way, and understand it. Behold, I command thee, take courage and be strong. Fear not and be not dismayed, because the Lord thy God is with thee in all things, whatsoever thou shalt go to. And Joshua commanded the princes of the people, saying, Pass through the midst of the camp, and command the people, and say, Prepare you victuals. For after the 3rd day you shall pass over the Jordan, and shall go in to possess the land, which the Lord your God shall give you. And he said to the Reubenites, and the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, Remember the word which Moses the servant of the Lord commanded you, saying, The Lord your God hath given you rest, and all this land. Your wives and children and cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you on this side of the Jordan. But pass you over armed before your brethren, all of you that are strong of hand, and fight for them, until the Lord give rest to your brethren, as he hath given you. And they also possess the land which the Lord your God will give them. And so you shall return into the land of your possession, and you shall dwell in it, which Moses the servant of the Lord gave you beyond the Jordan, toward the rising of the sun. And they made answer to Joshua, and said, All that thou hast commanded us we will do, and whithersoever thou shalt send us we will go. As we obeyed Moses in all things, so will we obey thee also. Only be the Lord thy God with thee, as he was with Moses. He that shall gainsay thy mouth, and not obey all thy words, that thou shalt command him, let him die. Only take thou courage, and do manfully. And Joshua the son of Nun sent from Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, and said to them, Go, and view the land and the city of Jericho. They went and entered into the house of a woman that was a harlot named Rahab, and lodged with her. And it was told the king of Jericho, and was said, Behold, there are men come in hither by night of the children of Israel to spy the land. And the king of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, Bring forth the men that came to thee, and are entered into thy house, for they are spies, and they are come to view all the land. And the woman taking the men hid them, and said, I confess they came to me, but I knew not whence they were. And at the time of shutting the gate in the dark, they also went out together. I know not whither they are gone. Pursue after them quickly, and you will overtake them. But she made the men go up to the top of her house, and covered them with the stalks of flax, which was there. Now they that were sent pursued after them, by the way that leadeth to the fords of the Jordan. And as soon as they were gone out, the gate was presently shut. The men that were hidden were not yet asleep, when behold the women went up to them, and said, I know that the Lord hath given this land to you, for the dread of you is fallen upon us, and all the inhabitants of the land have lost all strength. We have heard that the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea at your going in, and when you came out of Egypt, and what things you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites that were beyond the Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you slew. And hearing these things we were affrighted, and our heart fainted away. Neither did there remain any spirit in us at your coming in. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above, and in earth beneath. Now therefore swear ye to me by the Lord, that as I have shown mercy to you, so you also will show mercy to my father's house, and give me a true token, that you will save my father and mother, my brethren and sisters, and all things that are theirs, and deliver our souls from death. They answered her, Be our lives for you unto death, only if thou betray us not. When the Lord shall have delivered us the land, we will show thee mercy and truth. Then she let them down with a cord out of a window, for her house joined close to the wall. And she said to them, Get ye up to the mountains, lest perhaps they meet you as they return. And there lie ye hid 3 days, till they come back, and so you shall go on your way. And they said to her, We shall be blameless of this oath, which thou hast made us swear, if when we come into the land, this scarlet cord be a sign, and thou tie it in the window, by which thou hast let us down, and gather together thy father and mother, and brethren and all thy children, and all thy kindred into thy house. Whosoever shall go out of the door of thy house, his blood shall be upon his own head, and we shall be quit. But the blood of all that shall be with thee in the house shall light upon our head, if any man touch them. But if thou wilt betray us, and utter this word abroad, we shall be quit of this oath, which thou hast made us swear. And she answered, As you have spoken, so be it done. And sending them on their way, she hung the scarlet cord in the window. But they went and came to the mountains, and stayed there 3 days, till they that pursued them were returned. For having sought them through all the way, they found them not. And when they were gone back into the city, the spies returned, and came down from the mountain. Passing over the Jordan, they came to Joshua the son of Nun, and told him all that befell them, and said, The Lord hath delivered all this land into our hands, and all the inhabitants thereof are overthrown with fear. And Joshua rose before daylight, and removed the camp. And they departed from Shittim, and came to the Jordan, he and all the children of Israel. And they abode there for 3 days, after which the heralds went through the midst of the camp, and began to proclaim, When you shall see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, and the priests of the race of Levi carrying it, rise you up also, and follow them as they go before, and let there be between you and the ark the space of 2,000 cubits, that you may see it far off, and know which way you must go, for you have not gone this way before, and take care you come not near the ark. And Joshua said to the people, Be ye sanctified, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. And he said to the priests, Take up the ark of the covenant, and go before the people. And they obeyed his commands, and took it up, and walked before them. And the Lord said to Joshua, This day will I begin to exalt thee before Israel, that they may know that as I was with Moses, so I am with thee also. And do thou command the priests that carry the ark of the covenant, and say to them, When you shall have entered into part of the water of the Jordan, stand in it. And Joshua said to the children of Israel, Come hither and hear the word of the Lord your God. And again he said, By this you shall know that the Lord the living God is in the midst of you, and that he shall destroy before your sight the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Hivite, and the Perizzite, the Girgazite also, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite. Behold, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth shall go before you into the Jordan. Prepare ye 12 men of the tribes of Israel, one of every tribe. And when the priests that carry the ark of the Lord, the God of the whole earth, shall set the soles of their feet in the waters of the Jordan, the waters that are beneath shall run down and go off, and those that come from above shall stand together upon a heap. So the people went out of the tents to pass over the Jordan, and the priests that carried the ark of the covenant went on before them. And as soon as they came into the Jordan, and their feet were dipped into part of the water, now the Jordan, it being harvest time, had filled the banks of its channel. The waters that came down from above stood in one place, and swelling up like a mountain, were seen afar off from the city that is called Adam, to the place of Sarthon. But those that were beneath ran down into the sea of the wilderness, which now is called the Dead Sea, until they wholly failed. And the people marched over against Jericho, and the priests that carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood girded upon the dry ground in the midst of the Jordan. And all the people passed over through the channel that was dried up. And when they were passed over, the Lord said to Joshua, Choose 12 men, one of every tribe, and command them to take out of the midst of the Jordan, where the feet of the priests stood, 12 very hard stones, which you shall set in the place of the camp, where you shall pitch your tents this night. And Joshua called 12 men, whom he had chosen out of the children of Israel, one out of every tribe. And he said to them, Go before the ark of the Lord your God to the midst of the Jordan, and carry from thence every man a stone on your shoulders, according to the number of the children of Israel, that it may be a sign among you, and when your children shall ask you tomorrow, saying, What mean these stones? You shall answer them, The waters of the Jordan ran off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, when it passed over the same. Therefore were these stones set for a monument of the children of Israel forever. The children of Israel therefore did as Joshua commanded them, carrying out of the channel of the Jordan 12 stones, as the Lord had commanded him, according to the number of the children of Israel, unto the place wherein they camped, and there they set them. And Joshua put other 12 stones in the midst of the channel, and of the Jordan, where the priests stood, that carried the ark of the covenant, and they are there until this present day. Now the priests that carried the ark stood in the midst of the Jordan, till all things were accomplished, which the Lord had commanded Joshua to speak to the people. And Moses had said to him, and the people made haste and passed over. And when they had all passed over, the ark also of the Lord passed over, and the priest went before the people. The children of Reuben also and Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh, went armed before the children of Israel, as Moses had commanded them. And 40,000 fighting men by their troops and bands marched through the plains and fields of the city of Jericho. In that day the Lord magnified Joshua in the sight of all Israel, that they should fear him, as they had feared Moses while he lived. And he said to him, Command the priests that carry the ark of the covenant to come up out of the Jordan. And he commanded them, saying, Come ye up out of the Jordan. And when they that carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord were come up, and began to tread on dry ground, the waters returned into the channel, and ran as they were wont before. And the people came out of the Jordan the 10th day of the first month, and camped in Galgal, over against the east side of the city of Jericho. And the 12 stones which they had taken of the channel of the Jordan, Joshua pitched in Galgal, and said to the children of Israel, When your children shall ask their fathers tomorrow, and shall say to them, What mean these stones? You shall teach them, and say, Israel passed over this Jordan through the dry channel, the Lord your God drying up the waters thereof in your sight, until you passed over, as he had done before in the Red Sea, which he dried up till we passed through, that all the people of the earth may learn the most mighty hand of the Lord, that you also may fear the Lord your God forever. Now when all the kings of the Amorites who dwelt beyond the Jordan westward, and all the kings of Canaan, who possessed the places near the great sea, had heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of the Jordan before the children of Israel, till they passed over, their heart failed them, and there remained no spirit in them, fearing the coming in of the children of Israel. At that time the Lord said to Joshua, Make thee knives of stone, and circumcise the second time the children of Israel. He did what the Lord had commanded, and he circumcised the children of Israel in the hill of the foreskins. Now this is the cause of the second circumcision. All the people that came out of Egypt, that were males, all the men fit for war, died in the desert, during the time of the long going about in the way. Now these were all circumcised. But the people that were born in the desert, during the 40 years of the journey in the wide wilderness, were uncircumcised. To all they were consumed that had not heard the voice of the Lord, and to whom he had sworn before, that he would not show them the land flowing with milk and honey. The children of these succeeded in the place of their fathers, and were circumcised by Joshua, for they were uncircumcised even as they were born, and no one had circumcised them in the way. Now after they were circumcised, all circumcised, they remained in the same place of the camp until they were healed. And the Lord said to Joshua, This day have I taken away from you the reproach of Egypt. And the name of that place was called Galgal until this present day. And the children of Israel abode in Galgal, and they kept the phase on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. And they ate on the next day unleavened bread of the corn of the land, and fermentary of the same year. And the manna ceased after they ate of the corn of the land, neither did the children of Israel use that food any more, but they ate of the corn of the present year of the land of Canaan. And when Joshua was in the field of the city of Jericho, he lifted up his eyes, and saw a man standing over against him, holding a drawn sword. And he went to him, and said, Art thou one of ours, or of our adversaries? And he answered, No, but I am prince of the host of the Lord, and now I am come. Joshua fell on his face to the ground, and worshipping, add, What saith my lord to his servant? Loose, saith he, thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy. Joshua did as was commanded him. Now Jericho was closed shut up and fenced, for fear of the children of Israel, and no man durst go out or come in. And the Lord said to Joshua, Behold, I have given into thy hands Jericho, and the king thereof, and all the valiant men. Go round about the city, all ye fighting men, once a day. So shall ye do for 6 days. And on the 7th day the priest shall take the 7 trumpets, which are used in the Jubilee, and shall go before the ark of the covenant. And you shall go about the city 7 times. And the priest shall sound the trumpets. And when the voice of the trumpet shall give a longer and broken tune, and shall sound in your ears, all the people shall shout together with a very great shout, and the walls of the city shall fall to the ground, and they shall enter in every one at the place against which they shall stand. Then Joshua the son of Nun called the priests, and said to them, Take the ark of the covenant, and let 7 other priests take the 7 trumpets of the Jubilee, and march before the ark of the Lord. And he said to the people, "Go, encompass the city, armed, marching before the ark of the Lord." And when Joshua had ended his words, and the 7 priests blew the 7 trumpets before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and all the armed men went before, the rest of the common people followed the ark, and the sound of the trumpets was heard on all sides. But Joshua had commanded the people, saying, "You shall not shout, nor shall your voice be heard, nor any word go out of your mouth, until the day come wherein I shall say to you, Cry and shout." So the ark of the Lord went about the city once a day, and returning into the camp abode there. And Joshua rising before day, the priests took the ark of the Lord, and 7 of them 7 trumpets, which are used in the Jubilee. And they went before the ark of the Lord, walking and sounding the trumpets. And the armed men went before them, and the rest of the common people followed the ark, and they blew the trumpets. And they went round about the city the 2nd day once, and returned into the camp. So they did 6 days. But the 7th day, rising up early, they went about the city, as it was ordered 7 times. And when in the 7th going about the priests sounded with the trumpets, Joshua said to all Israel, "Shout, for the Lord hath delivered the city to you, and let this city be an anathema, and all things that are in it, to the Lord. Let only Rahab the harlot live, with all that are with her in the house, for she hid the messengers whom we sent. But beware ye, lest ye touch aught of those things that are forbidden, and you be guilty of transgression, and all the camp of Israel be under sin, and be troubled. But whatsoever gold or silver there shall be, or vessels of brass and iron, let it be consecrated to the Lord, laid up in his treasures." So all the people making a shout, and the trumpet sounding, when the voice and the sound thundered in the ears of the multitude, the walls forthwith fell down, and every man went up by the place that was over against him. And they took the city, and killed all that were in it, man and woman, young and old. The oxen also and the sheep, and the asses, they slew with the edge of the sword. But Joshua said to the 2 men that had been sent for spies, "Go into the harlot's house, and bring her out, and all things that are hers, as you assured her by oath." And the young men went in, and brought out Rahab, and her parents, her brethren also, and all her goods and her kindred, and made them to stay without the camp. But they burned the city, and all things that were therein, except the gold and silver, and vessels of brass and iron, which they consecrated into the treasury of the Lord. But Joshua saved Rahab the harlot in her father's house, and all she had, and they dwelt in the midst of Israel until this present day, because she hid the messengers whom he had sent to spy out Jericho. At that time Joshua made an imprecation, saying, "Cursed be the man before the Lord that shall rise up and build the city of Jericho. In his firstborn may he lay the foundation thereof, and in the last of his children set up its gates." And the Lord was with Joshua, and his name was noised throughout all the land. But the children of Israel transgressed the commandment, and took their own use of the anathema. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zadbi, the son of Zara, of the tribe of Judah, took something of the anathema, and the Lord was angry against the children of Israel. And when Joshua sent men from Jericho against Hai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of the town of Bethel, he said to them, "Go up and view the country." And they fulfilled his command and viewed Hai. And returning they said to him, "Let not all the people go up, but let 2,000 or 3,000 men go and destroy the city. Why should all the people be troubled in vain against enemies that are very few?" There went up therefore 3,000 fighting men, who immediately turned their backs, and were defeated by the men of the city of Ai. And there fell of them 36 men. And the enemies pursued them from the gate as far as Sabarim, and they slew them as they fled by the descent. And the heart of the people was struck with fear, and melted like water. But Joshua rent his garments, and fell flat on the ground before the ark of the Lord, until the evening, both he and all the ancients of Israel. And they put dust upon their heads. And Joshua said, "Alas, O Lord God, why wouldest thou bring this people over the river Jordan, to deliver us into the hand of the Amorite, and to destroy us? Would God we had stayed beyond the Jordan as we began. My Lord God, what shall I say, seeing Israel turn their backs to their enemies? The Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land will hear of it, and being gathered together will surround us and cut off our name from the earth. And what wilt thou do to thy great name? And the Lord said to Joshua, Arise, why liest thou flat on the ground? Israel hath sinned and transgressed my covenant, and they have taken of the anathema, and have stolen and lied, and have hidden it among their goods. Neither can Israel stand before his enemies, but he shall flee from them, because he is defiled with the anathema. I will be no more with you, till you destroy him that is guilty of this wickedness. Arise, sanctify the people, and say to them, Be ye sanctified against tomorrow. For thus saith the Lord God of Israel, The anathema is in the midst of thee, O Israel. Thou canst not stand before thy enemies till he be destroyed out of thee that is defiled with this wickedness. And you shall come in the morning every one by your tribes, and what tribe soever the lot shall find, it shall come by its kindreds, and the kindred by its houses, and the house by the men. And whosoever he be that shall be found guilty of this fact, he shall be burnt with fire with all his substance, because he hath transgressed the covenant of the Lord, and hath done wickedness in Israel. Joshua, therefore, when he rose in the morning, made Israel to come by their tribes, and the tribe of Judah was found, which being brought by its families, it was found to be the family of Zara. Bringing that also by the houses, he found it to be Zabdi. And bringing his house man by man, he found Achan the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zara, of the tribe of Judah. And Joshua said to Achan, My son, give glory to the Lord God of Israel, and confess, and tell me what thou hast done. Hide it not. And Achan answered Joshua, and said to him, Indeed, I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel, and thus I have done. For I saw among the spoils a scarlet garment exceeding good, and 200 sides of silver, and a golden rule of 50 sides, and I coveted them, and I took them away, and hid them in the ground as the midst of my tent. And the silver I covered with the earth that I dug up. Joshua therefore sent ministers, who running to his tent found all hidden in the same place, together with the silver. And taking them away out of the tent, they brought them to Joshua and to all the children of Israel, and threw them down before the Lord. Then Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan the son of Zara, and the silver and the garments and the golden rule, his sons also and his daughters, his oxen and asses and sheep, the tent also and all the goods, and brought them to the valley of Achor, where Joshua said, Because thou hast troubled us, the Lord trouble thee this day. And all Israel stoned him, and all things that were his were consumed with fire. And they gathered together upon him a great heap of stones, which remaineth until this present day. And the wrath of the Lord was turned away from them. And the name of that place was called the Valley of Achor until this day. And the Lord said to Joshua, Fear not, nor be thou dismayed. Take with thee all the multitude of fighting men. Arise and go up to the town of Ai. Behold, I have delivered into thy hand the king thereof, and the people, and the city, and the land. And thou shalt do to the city of Ai, to the king thereof, as thou hast done to Jericho, and to the king thereof. But the spoils and all the cattle you shall take for a prey to yourselves, lay an ambush for the city behind it. And Joshua arose, and all the army of the fighting men with him, to go up against Ai. And he sent 30,000 chosen valiant men in the night, and commanded them, saying, Lay an ambush behind the city, and go not very far from it, and be ye all ready. But I and the rest of the multitude which is with me will approach on the contrary side against the city, and when they shall come out against us, we will flee, and turn our backs, as we did before, till they pursuing us be drawn farther from the city. For they will think that we flee as before. And whilst we are fleeing, and they pursuing, you shall arise out of the ambush, and shall destroy the city. And the Lord your God will deliver it into our hands. And when you shall have taken it, set it on fire, and you shall do all things so as I have commanded. And he went them away, and they went on to the place of the ambush, and abode between Bethel and Hai, on the west side of the city of Hai. But Joshua stayed that night in the midst of the people, and rising early in the morning he mustered his soldiers, and went up with the ancients in the front of the army, environed with the aid of the fighting men. And when they were come and were gone up over against the city, they stood on the north side of the city, between which them there was a valley in the midst. And he had chosen 5,000 men, and set them to lie in ambush between Bethel and Hai, on the west side of the same city. And all the rest of the army went in battle array on the north side, so that the last of that multitude reached to the west side of the city. So Joshua went that night, and stood in the midst of the valley. And when the king of Hai saw this, he made haste in the morning, and went out with all the army of the city, and set it in battle array toward the desert, not knowing that there lay an ambush behind his back. But Joshua and all Israel gave back, making as if they were afraid, and fleeing by the way of the wilderness. But they, shouting together and encouraging one another, pursued them. And when they were come from the city, and not one remained in the city of Hai and of Bethel, that did not pursue after Israel, leaving the towns open as they had rushed out, the Lord said to Joshua, Lift up the shield that is in thy hand towards the city of Hai, for I will deliver it to thee. And when he had lifted up his shield towards the city, the ambush that lay hid rose up immediately, and going to the city, took it and set it on fire. And the men of the city that pursued after Joshua, looking back and seeing the smoke of the city rise up to heaven, had no more power to flee this way or that way, especially as they that had counterfeited flight, and were going toward the wilderness, turned back most valiantly against them that pursued. So Joshua and all Israel, seeing that the city was taken, and that the smoke of the city rose up, returned and slew the men of Hai. And they also that had taken and set the city on fire, issuing out of the city to meet their own men, began to cut off the enemies who were surrounded by them. So that the enemies, being cut off on both sides, not one of so great a multitude was saved. And they took the king of the city of Hai alive, and brought him to Joshua. So all being slain that had pursued after Israel in his flight to the wilderness, and tailing by the sword in the same place, the children of Israel returned and laid waste the city. And the number of them that fell that day, both of men and women, was 12,000 persons, all of the city of Hai. But Joshua drew not back his hand, which he had stretched out on high, holding the shield, till all the inhabitants of Hai were slain. And the children of Israel divided among them the cattle and the prey of the city, as the Lord had commanded Joshua. And he burned the city, and made it a heap forever. And he hung the king thereof on a gibbet until the evening, and the going down of the sun. Then Joshua commanded, and they took down his carcass from the gibbet, and threw it in the very entrance of the city, heaping upon it a great heap of stones, which remaineth until this present day. Then Joshua built an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, in Mount Hebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded the children of Israel. And it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of unhewn stones, which iron had not touched. And he offered upon its holocausts to the Lord, and immolated victims of peace offerings. And he wrote upon the stones the Deuteronomy of the law of Moses, which he had ordered before the children of Israel. And all the people, and the ancients, and the princes, and judges stood on both sides of the ark, before the priests that carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, both the stranger and he that was born among them, half of them by Mount Gerizim, and half by Mount Hebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded. And first he blessed the people of Israel. After this he read all the words of the blessing, and the cursing, and all things that were written in the book of the law. He left out nothing of those things which Moses had commanded, but he repeated all before all the people of Israel, with the women and children and strangers that dwelt among them. Now when these things were heard of, all the kings beyond the Jordan that dwelt in the mountains and in the plains and in the places near the sea, and on the coasts of the great sea, they also that dwell by Libanus, and Hittite, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite, gathered themselves together to fight against Joshua and Israel with one mind and one resolution. But they that dwelt in the Gabaon, hearing all that Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, cunningly devising, took for themselves provisions, laying old sacks upon their asses, and wine bottles rent and sewed up again, and very old shoes, which for a show of age were clouted with patches, and old garments upon them. The leaves also, which they carried for provisions by the way, were hard, and broken into pieces. And they went to Joshua, who then abode in the camp of Gilgal, and said to him, and to all Israel with him, We are come from a far country, desiring to make peace with you. And the children of Israel answered them, and said, Perhaps you dwell in the land which falls to our lot. If so, we can make no league with you. But they said to Joshua, We are thy servants. Joshua said to them, Who are you, and whence came you? They answered, From a very far country thy servants are come in the name of the Lord thy God. For we have heard the fame of his power, all the things that he did in Egypt, and to the kings of the Amorites that were beyond the Jordan, Sihon king of Heshbon, and Og king of Bashan, that was in Ashtaroth. And our ancients and all the inhabitants of our country said to us, Take with you victuals for a long way, and go meet them, and say, We are your servants, make ye a league with us. Behold, these leaves we took not, when we set out from our houses to come to you. Now they took heart. Now they are become dry and broken in pieces, by being exceeding old. These bottles of wine, when we filled them, were new. Now they are rent and burst. These garments we have on, and the shoes we have on our feet, by reason of the very long journey, are worn out and almost consumed. They took therefore of their victuals, and consulted not the mouth of the Lord. And Joshua made peace with them, and entering into a league promised that they should not be slain. The princes also of the multitude swore to them. Now 3 days after the league was made, they heard that they dwelt nigh, and they should be among them. And the children of Israel removed the camp, and came into the city on the 3rd day, the names of which are Gabaon, and Kaphira, and Beroth, and Kiriathaim. And they slew them not, because the princes of the multitude had sworn in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. Then all the common people murmured against the princes. And they answered them, We have sworn to them in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, and therefore we may not touch them. But this we will do to them, that their lives be saved, lest the wrath of the Lord be stirred up against us, if we should be forsworn. But so let them live, as to serve the whole multitude in hewing wood, and bringing in water. As they were speaking these things, Joshua called the Gabaonites, and said to them, Why would you impose upon us, saying, We dwell far off from you, whereas you are in the midst of us? Therefore you shall be under a curse, and your race shall always be hewers of wood, and carriers of water unto the house of my God. They answered, It was told us, thy servants, that the Lord thy God had promised his servant Moses to give you all the land, and to destroy all the inhabitants thereof. Therefore we feared exceedingly, and provided for our lives, compelled by the dread we had of you, and we took this counsel. And now we are in thy hand. Deal with us as it seemeth good, and right unto thee. So Joshua did as he had said, and delivered them from the hand of the children of Israel, that they should not be slain. And they gave orders in that day that they should be in the service of all the people, and of the altar of the Lord, hewing wood and carrying water, until this present time, in the place which the Lord hath chosen. When Adonisedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard these things, to wit, that Joshua had taken Ai, and had destroyed it, for as he had done to Jericho, and the king thereof, so did he to Ai, and its king, and that the Gabaonites were gone over to Israel, and were their confederates, he was exceedingly afraid. For Gabaon was a great city, and one of the royal cities, and greater than the town of Ai, and all its fighting men were most valiant. Therefore Adonisedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Oham, king of Hebron, and to Pharam, king of Jeremoth, and to Japhia, king of Lachish, and to Dabir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up to me and bring help, that we may take Gabaon, because it hath gone over to Joshua and to the children of Israel. So the 5 kings of the Amorites, being assembled together, went up, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jeremoth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon. They and their armies encamped upon Gabaon, laying siege to it. But the inhabitants of the city of Gabaon, which was besieged, sent to Joshua, who then abode in the camp at Galgal, and said to him, Withdraw not thy hands from helping thy servants. Come up quickly and save us, and bring us succor. For all the kings of the Amorites, who dwell in the mountains, are gathered together against us. And Joshua went up from Galgal, and all the army of the warriors with him, most valiant men. And the Lord said to Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thy hands. None of them shall be able to stand against thee. So Joshua, going up from Galgal all the night, came upon them suddenly, and the Lord troubled them at the sight of Israel, and he slew them with a great slaughter in Gabaon, and pursued them by the way of the ascent to Beth Horon, and cut them off all the way to Azekah and Makkedah. And when they were fleeing from the children of Israel, and were in the descent of Beth Horon, the Lord cast down upon them great stones from the heaven as far as Azekah, and many more were killed with the hailstones than were slain by the swords of the children of Israel. Then Joshua spoke to the Lord in the day that he delivered the Amorite in the sight of the children of Israel, and he said before them, Move not, O sun, toward Gabaon, nor thou, O moon, toward the valley of Ajalon. And the sun and the moon stood still, till the people revenged themselves of their enemies. Is not this written in the book of the just? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hastened not to go down the space of one day. There was not before nor after so long a day, the Lord obeying the voice of a man, and fighting for Israel. And Joshua returned with all Israel into the camp of Galgal, for the 5 kings were fled, and had hidden themselves in a cave of the city of Makkedah. And it was told Joshua that the 5 kings were found hidden in the cave of the city of Makkedah. And he commanded them that were with him, saying, Roll great stones to the mouth of the cave, and set careful men to keep them shut up, and stay you not, but pursue after the enemies, and kill all the hindermost of them as they flee, and do not suffer them whom the Lord God hath delivered into your hands to shelter themselves to their cities. So the enemies being slain with a great slaughter, and almost utterly consumed, they that were able to escape from Israel entered into fenced cities. And all the army returned to Joshua in Makkedah, where the camp then was, in good health, and without the loss of anyone. And no man durst move his tongue against the children of Israel. And Joshua gave orders, saying, Open the mouth of the cave, and bring forth to me the 5 kings that lie hid therein. And the ministers did as they were commanded, and they brought out to him the 5 kings out of the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jeremoth, the king of Lachish, the king of Eglon. And when they were brought out to him, he called all the men of Israel, and said to the chiefs of the army that were with him, Go, and set your feet on the necks of these kings. And when they had gone, and put their feet upon the necks of them lying under them, he said again to them, Fear not, neither be ye dismayed. Take courage and be strong, for so will the Lord do to all your enemies, against whom you fight. And Joshua struck, and slew them, and hanged them upon 5 gibbets, and they hung until the evening. And when the sun was down, he commanded the soldiers to take them down from the gibbets. And after they were taken down, they cast them into the cave where they had lain hid, and put great stones at the mouth thereof, which remain until this day. The same day Joshua took Makkedah and destroyed it with the edge of the sword, and killed the king and all the inhabitants thereof. He left not in it the least remains. And he did to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. And he passed from Makkedah with all Israel to Libnah, and fought against it. And the Lord delivered it with the king thereof into the hands of Israel. And they destroyed the city with the edge of the sword, and all the inhabitants thereof. They left not in it any remains, and they did to the king of Lebna as they had done to the king of Jericho. From Lebna he passed into Lachish with all Israel, and investing it with his army, besieged it. And the Lord delivered Lachish into the hands of Israel. And he took it the following day, and put it to the sword, and every soul that was in it, as he had done to Lebna. At that time Horam king of Gazer came up to succor Lachish, and Joshua slew him with all his people, so as to leave none alive. And he passed from Lachish to Eglon, and surrounded it, and took it the same day, and put to the sword all the souls that were in it, according to all that he had done to Lachish. And went up also with all Israel from Eglon to Hebron, and fought against it, took it, and destroyed it with the edge of the sword. The king also thereof, and all the towns of that country, and all the souls that dwelt in it, he left not therein any remains, as he had done to Eglon, so did he also to Hebron, putting to the sword all that he found in it. Returning from thence to Debir, he took it and destroyed it. The king also thereof, and all the towns round about he destroyed. With the edge of the sword he left not in it any remains. As he had done to Hebron and Lebna, and to their kings, so did he to Debir, and to the king thereof. So Joshua conquered all the country of the hills, and of the south, and of the plain, and of Azadoth, with their kings. He left not any remains therein, but slew all that breathed, as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded him. From Kadesh Barnea even to Gaza, all the land of Goshen, even to Gabon, and all their kings, and the lands he took and wasted at one onset. For the Lord, the God of Israel, fought for him. And he returned with all Israel to the place of the camp in Gilgal. And when Jabin, king of Asor, had heard these things, he sent to Jobab, king of Madon, and the king of Semeron, and to the king of Aksaph, and to the kings of the north that dwelt in the mountains and the plains over against the south side of Kinneroth, in the levels in the countries of Dor by the seaside, to the Canaanites also on the east and on the west, and the Amorite, and the Hethite, and the Perizzite, and the Jebusite in the mountains, so the Hivite also, who dwelt at the foot of Hermon in the land of Maspha. And they all came out with their troops, a people exceeding numerous as the sand that is on the seashore, their horses also, and chariots, a very great multitude. And all these kings assembled together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. And the Lord said to Joshua, Fear them not, for tomorrow at this same hour I will deliver all these to be slain in the sight of Israel. Thou shalt hamstring their horses, and thou shalt burn their chariots with fire. And Joshua came, and all the army with him, against them to the waters of Merom on a sudden, and fell upon them. And the Lord delivered them into the hands of Israel. And they defeated them, and chased them as far as the great Sidon, and the waters of Maseraphot, and the field of Maspheh, which is on the east side thereof. He slew them all, so as to leave no remains of them. And he did as the Lord had commanded him. He hamstringed their houses, and burned their chariots. And presently turning back he took Asor, and slew the king thereof with the sword. Now Asor of old was the head of all these kingdoms, and he cut off all the souls that abode there. He left not in it any remains, but utterly destroyed all, and burned the city itself with fire. And he took and put to the sword, and destroyed all the cities round about, and their kings, as Moses the servant of God had commanded him. Except the cities that were on hills and high places, the rest Israel burned. Only Asor, that was very strong, he consumed with fire. And the children of Israel divided among themselves all the spoil of these cities, and the cattle, killing all the men. As the Lord had commanded Moses his servant, so did Moses command Joshua, and he accomplished all. He left not one thing undone of all the commandments which the Lord had commanded Moses. So Joshua took all the country of the hills, and of the south, and the land of Goshen, and the plains, and the west country, and the mountain of Israel, and the plains thereof, and part of the mountain that goeth up to Seir as far as Baalgad, by the plain of Libanus under Mount Hermon, All their kings he took, smote and slew. Joshua made war a long time against these kings. There was Hot, a city that delivered itself to the children of Israel, except the Hivite who dwelt in Gabaon, for he took all by fight. For it was the sentence of the Lord that their hearts should be hardened, and they should fight against Israel and fall, and should not deserve any clemency, and should be destroyed as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time Joshua came and cut off the Anakims from the mountains, from Hebron and Debir and Anab, and from all the mountain of Judah and Israel, and destroyed their cities. He left not any of the stock of the Anakims in the land of the children of Israel, except the cities of Gaza and Geth and Nazatos, in which alone they were left. So Joshua took all the land, as the Lord spoke to Moses, and delivered it in possession to the children of Israel, according to their divisions and tribes, and the land rested from wars. These are the kings whom the children of Israel slew and possessed their land beyond the Jordan towards the rising of the sun, from the torrent Arnon unto Mount Hermon, and all the east country that looked towards the wilderness. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and had dominion from Aroer, which is seated upon the bank of the torrent Arnon, and of the middle part of the valley, and of half Galaad, as far as the torrent Jabbok, which is the border of the children of Ammon, and from the wilderness to the sea of Kinneroth, towards the east, and to the sea of the wilderness, which is the most salt sea, on the east side by the way that leadeth to Bethsimoth, and on the south side that lieth under Asedoth, Phazgah, the border of Og, the king of Bashan, of the remnant of the Raphaims, who dwelt in Astaroth, and in Edrei, and had dominion in Mount Hermon, and in Salekah, and in all Bashan, unto the borders of Gesuri, and Makati, and of half Galaad, the borders of Sihon, the king of Heshbon. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the children of Israel slew them. And Moses delivered their land in possession to the Reubenites, and the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. These are the kings of the land, whom Joshua and the children of Israel slew, beyond the Jordan on the west side, from Balagad to the Held of Libanus, unto the mount, part of which goeth up into Seir. And Joshua delivered it in possession to the tribes of Israel, to every one their divisions, as well in the mountains as in the plains and the campaign countries. In Asedoth, and in the wilderness, and in the south, was the Hethite, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. The king of Jericho won, the king of Ai, which is on the side of Bethel, won. The king of Jerusalem won. The king of Hebron won. The king of Jeremoth won. The king of Lachish won. The king of Eglon won. The king of Gazer won. The king of Debir won. The king of Gader won. The king of Herma won. The king of Hared won. The king of Lebna won. The king of Odulam won. The king of Makkedah won. The king of Bethel won. The king of Tufwa won. The king of Ophir won. The king of Aphek won. The king of Saron won. The king of Madon won. The king of Asor won. The king of Semeron won. The king of Aksaph won. The king of Tenak won. The king of Megiddo won. The king of Cades won. The king of Jachannan of Carmel won. The king of Dor and the province of Dor won. The king of the nations of Galgal won. The king of Tharsa won. All the kings 30 and 1. All right. So here we are, reading up on the conquest of Joshua here, and this is going to be a very good place for us to stop and continue next time through Joshua and probably through Judges as well. So I will see you guys in the next one as we continue our 30-day shred of reading the Catholic Bible. Be blessed.